Hi, everyone, and welcome to StudioJake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to like this video, leave me a comment, and tell me what you think. Share it all around, and of course, I hope you'll subscribe. Now, before I dive into the content today, I just wanted to remind everyone that I write novels. I've got a fantasy series, got a paranormal sort of story here, Cacophony, A Tale of Faith and Fear. It's about a group of demons who want to take over a town and the angels sent to stop them. Of course, my fantasy series, first two in a trilogy. The third one is on its way. Be sure to check it out. It's about a group of your favorite fairy tale characters who have to work together to save their kingdom from an evil mage. So now, with superhero stuff getting more infected with the woke mind virus, political pandering, we've got to constantly serve up political stuff in movies and TV. This sort of, and then we're gonna hire writers who don't know how to write. Their biggest claim to fame is that they were Tumblr bloggers, or they wrote one episode of some random CW show or soap opera or something like that. Many fans like myself, now I was already an anime fan. I've been an anime fan for a while, but many people are turning to anime specifically as an alternative. Now, anime has multiple genres. It's got science fiction, and that divides into like sort of mech stuff like Gundam, like Transformers, but it's also got just kind of space operas stuff. They've got fantasy, like fairy tale. They've got all kinds of it. Romance. If you're into rom-coms, there's sort of slice of life stuff like my senpai is annoying. Even sort of what you would consider urban historical fantasy like Demon Slayer. All kinds of stuff. Action like Dragon Ball Z. You can find that's one thing that's great about anime is there's something for everyone. But what about folks like me who love comic books? We love our superhero stuff. We like Batman, Superman, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, the Invisible Woman, whatever it may be. We're just all into capes and masks and people with powers helping people. Well, good news. I've got some starter animes that you can kick off with that will help you decide if you're into this genre. Now, I know anime gets a lot of criticism because they have pretty awful shows, but I would like to remind you, anime is a style of animation. It's an art style. It's not a genre. So if you're looking for something specific, look in a specific genre. You don't have to get into all the weirder stuff, or because they do have anime that is about the occult. You don't have to watch that. You can find something good, something for everyone, which is why I've come up with 5 anime for comic book fans. Now, again, these are starter animes. There's plenty of them, and this is in no particular order, by the way. These are just suggestions. So right off the bat is Astro Boy. Now, Astro Boy was actually one of the first animes to get an English dub. Excuse me. A lot of people do think that it was the very first one, but it was actually an anime known in English called Gigantor. However, Astro Boy kind of had like a broad appeal, and here's why. It's about a robot who is a superhero and his retainers, and he fights other evil robots. He's not evil, he fights evil robots. Now, there have been multiple iterations of Astro Boy that you can go all the way back, I think, to the 60s for Astro Boy content. It was originally a manga. It was originally a manga, and then it evolved into a television show. For those of you who don't know, a manga is kind of like a graphic novel. It's a collection of stories from a particular magazine. In the case of Japan, they typically publish comic books in magazines instead of in floppy comics like what we have. Now, anyway, Astro Boy, great. They just recently, a couple of years ago, it's older, I should say, they did a CGI remake of it that's a film. You can check that out as well. So you can look, Astro Boy is pretty much everywhere. Now, for you ladies, you like superheroes, but you don't know where to start. You're confused. you're like, hey, I'm into this, but I want something that's a little bit more for me. I want to see power girls. I want to see magical girls. I want to see them, fighting evil by the moonlight. Of course, I'm going with Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon is about five high school girls, and then eventually they recruit more who find out that they're reincarnations of these women who lived on the moon. They were powerful warriors, but their kingdom was destroyed. So the main character Usagi, she, through the help of a talking cat, becomes Sailor Moon, the leader. She's the lost princess of this moon kingdom, and her boyfriend Mamoru, he is also Tuxedo Mask. He's a superhero as well. The original show goes on forever. It's got a long storied history. It also has a manga. And not to mention, they just remade it, which is Sailor Moon Crystal. They just really, during the pandemic, they were going to do another season. I think it has 2 seasons right now, and they were going to do a 3rd season, but because of the pandemic, it got delayed. So they did 2 movies instead. The movies are pretty good. I watched it. My wife is a huge Sailor Moon fan. I mean, she's nuts about Sailor Moon. So as such, I am as well. So I've seen a lot of Sailor Moon content. Now we also have, coming up, the next one is One Punch Man. Now what's interesting about One Punch Man is it's about this guy named Saitama, and he discovers, now he can't fly, but he has immeasurable super strength, so much so that he can actually kill opponents with one punch. And typically they're monsters, sometimes mutated men and women as well. But he is incredibly powerful. He gets partnered with another superhero named Genos, who becomes known as Demon Cyborg in season 2. And the two of them kind of have this weird relationship. Genos thinks that Saitama is like a very well established superhero, but really Saitama is really, he's just a superhero because he's bored. He doesn't really believe in truth and justice, but as the story progresses, he kind of starts to grow. He develops friendships with other superheroes, and the reason it's called One Punch Man is because he can take out an enemy with one punch. And one of the things I like about it is it kind of makes fun of the absurdities that we sometimes find in anime as well as American comic books. They kind of are able to balance it out. It's very self-referential. It's irreverent to superheroes. One of my favorite scenes is Earth gets invaded by aliens, and Saitama manages to get aboard the ship. And so one of the aliens talks to him over a loudspeaker and says, "Human, how dare you invade our ship? Get out right now." I'm paraphrasing, of course. And Saitama says, "Well, I would leave, but I don't know which way to go." So the alien wants to lead him into a trap. So he says, "Well, go to the left." And Saitama goes, "Oh, I think you're lying." And he runs to the right. It's just really hilarious. And up next is something a little bit more familiar. So this is Future Avengers, or Marvel's Future Avengers. It's about Hydra has been secretly training these children with superpowers, but they have been brainwashing them into thinking that Hydra is a force for good and that the Avengers are evil. However, when the Avengers actually come to Hydra Island and rescue the kids realize, oh wow, the Avengers are actually the heroes. So a few of them go with the Avengers, a few stay with Hydra, but a few of them go with the Avengers, and the Avengers train them in being superheroes. It's actually a pretty good show. Now, it is meant more for a younger audience, but if you really are missing sort of, Iron Man and the Hulk and Captain America and Wasp, this show is actually pretty good. It does it together, it melds it together, and it has a way better version of the Carol Danvers version of Captain Marvel than even the MCU does. So, last but definitely not least is My Hero Academia. It's very similar to the X-Men. It takes place in a future where 80% of the human population has superpowers called quirks, and the main character is a kid named Deku. He's born quirkless, and he is chosen by the greatest superhero in Japan, a guy named All Might, who actually trained in the United States. A lot of his super moves are named after cities in the United States. He chooses Deku as his apprentice, and it gives Deku sort of like this ability where he can shift his energy to give him superpower or super strength in a particular, like his fist or his foot or whatever. And it's actually a really fantastic show. My understanding was it was only supposed to run for 3 seasons, but because it was such a hit in Japan and in the United States, they're keeping it going. And I think it's fantastic. It's one of the best shows to come out of anime. I think it's amazing. Now, I'm going to do an honorable mention. Maybe you're like, hey, I just want to read something. Well, you can certainly read One Punch Man. You can certainly read Sailor Moon, Astro Boy, My Hero Academia. Now, I want to do this honorable mention for this manga I've been reading, and it's a spin-off and a prequel to My Hero Academia. It's called My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Now, in that world, to become a superhero, you have to be licensed through an agency. And this actually becomes an interesting plot point in MHA. Now, in Vigilantes, it's about 3 heroes who aren't licensed. One guy named Knuckle Duster, who's kind of like he's kind of like a combination of Batman and the Punisher. He mainly likes to punch villains. However, he's not above shooting them if he thinks it's absolutely necessary. Then his apprentice, who's called the Crawler, he's kind of a young, idealistic college student who has the ability to project shock waves out of his hands that allow him to kind of glide and to go fast, but also he can use them as weapons. And then a former idol named Pop Step. And she has this ability to create these rings where she can walk in the sky. It kind of gives the illusion that she's flying. She can also use them offensively. And the 3 of them are the main characters, and they introduce an American superhero named Captain Celebrity later on, who kind of becomes the main character, but all the others are still around. But sadly, it's ending. They're only going to do 15 volumes of it, and I plan on reading them all. I review it on my website, StudioJakeMedia.com, but I highly, highly recommend that series if you just want something to read. So what do you think about my list? Am I leaving one out that you would like to know about? Leave me a comment. I love to have that discussion with you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, that you'll leave me a comment and tell me what you think, that you'll share it out with your friends, and of course, consider subscribing to Studio Jake. I cover all kinds of nerd and pop culture topics, including film, television, anime, comic books, and so much more. I hope that you'll also head over to my main website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I have even more news, views, and commentary. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, head over to my locals page. That's studiojakemedia.locals.com. It's the best way to support me. I'm trying to build a little community there. I have exclusive reviews and articles, so definitely head over there and check it out. And I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.